Axel is a 30-year-old guy struggling with his job and love life. He couldn't find a good-paying job, so he had to settle for smaller jobs, like being a cashier. He has also never been in a romantic relationship. The time of the year he dislikes the most is Christmas, because his whole family gets together at his parents' big house. During these times, everyone questions why he's still struggling at 30, comparing him to his successful and married cousins. They make comments like, "How can you be bisexual and still be single at this age?" Or you can ask one of your cousins to give you a job as a receptionist. It's better than whatever jobs you are doing now. He is always the main topic during Christmas gatherings. He hopes his parents will say something or stand up for him, but they stay silent and watch. As Christmas approached again, Axel wished not to attend the gathering, but his parents kept calling to confirm his attendance. 2 nights before the day he dreads the most, Axel stepped out for some fresh air, feeling suffocated at home. Walking down the road, he judged houses adorned with Christmas lights and families wearing happy smiles. Despite secretly yearning for that joy, he spotted an old man dressed as Santa sitting on a bench with a sign that read, "I can make your wishes come true." Passing by, Axel remarked, "Looking to scam people?" The old man laughed and asked if Axel had any wishes. Axel turned back and faced the old man, saying, "Don't waste your time on me. I have no money to give you." The old man, still smiling, replied, "I don't need your money, just tell me your wish." Axel responded, "Since you can make my wish come true, you should know what it is." The old man said, "I do, but you have to say it out loud." Axel, using a sarcastic tone, said, "Okay, I wish for a boyfriend." The old man, smiling, replied, "Done." Axel asked, "Done with what? I knew you were a scam," then walked off. Axel went back home and went to bed, thinking about how ridiculous the old man was. The next morning, Axel opened his eyes to find a man lying close beside him, staring at him. Without hesitation, Axel kicked the man off the bed and quickly got up, searching for his phone to call the police. The man, rising from the floor, said, "Ouch, is this how you treat your boyfriend on the first day of meeting?" Axel retorted, "You must be crazy. Now get out of my house before I call the police." The man, approaching Axel, remarked, "Don't you remember you wished for a boyfriend? Here I am." Axel recalled his encounter with the old man the previous night and, with annoyance, asked, "Did that scamming old man send you here?" The man replied, "Well, technically he did." Axel exclaimed, "I knew it. Get out of my house now. I really don't want to call the police." The man said, "I'm here because of you, so I can't leave." Axel sighed frustratingly and said, "If you won't leave on your own, then I will make you." Axel was moving towards the man to push him out, when the man waved his finger at Axel and Axel could no longer move. He was stuck and now couldn't move his body. Axel exclaimed, "What the hell? Are you some kind of wizard or something? Release me now." The man replied, "I'm sorry, but this is the only way to make you listen to me." Axel then said, "You want me to listen, right? Okay, I'm all ears. What crap do you have to say?" The man then continued, "Number 1, my name is Mason. Number 2, I am going to be your boyfriend from now till New Year. And 3, from now till New Year, you can make 3 wishes which I will grant to, but you can't make a wish that will harm anyone or anything." Axel looked at Mason and laughed sarcastically, then said, "You will grant me 3 wishes. What are you? A genie?" Mason then told him to make his first wish and see. Axel, still laughing, said, "I wish to be the richest man in the world." Mason then smiled and said, "Your wish has been fulfilled." Axel shook his head, saying, "You are just like that old man. I don't see anything being fulfilled." Mason responded, "Why don't you go out and see?" Axel then said, "How do I go out when I can't even move?" Mason said, "Oops, sorry," waved his finger, and Axel could now move. Axel followed Mason outside, and the moment Axel got out, his jaw dropped. His little house with a small front yard had transformed into a massive mansion, and the compound looked like the size of an entire city. Different brands of the latest cars were parked in a garage larger than all his family members' houses combined. Axel turned to Mason, asking if he had drugged him and was making him hallucinate, but Mason insisted that everything was real. They went back inside the house, now resembling a modern palace. Axel still couldn't believe what he was seeing. Mason asked Axel if he believed him now, and Axel replied, maybe a little. For the first time in a long time, Axel was excited to go back home for Christmas. Axel told Mason that they needed to practice answers to give when asked about their relationship. Mason replied that he didn't need that, because he knew everything about Axel. Axel stared at Mason with a suspecting look for a few seconds, and then said, that is weird, but anyway, I don't know anything about you. Mason replied that there was nothing to know about him, and Axel responded, then we'll create something about you. Also, we need to have matching answers to questions like how and where we met, how long we've been together, questions like that. Mason replied, oh, okay then. They both started practicing answers to possible questions, since they had only that day left until the day of departure. At night, as Axel was preparing to sleep in his new luxury room, Mason also came and jumped in the bed. Axel asked him what he was doing, and Mason replied that he was preparing to sleep. Axel asked Mason why he was sleeping in his room when there were so many other rooms. Mason replied that he liked sleeping with someone by his side, hugging him, because where he was from, they all slept in one bed and cuddled each other. Axel responded, well, this is not where you are from. I'm not sleeping on this bed with you, so get out. Mason pouted his lips, sulking and looking at Axel. Axel sighed and gave in, saying, I'm only allowing you to sleep here so I can monitor you in case you want to escape. Mason then said, I'm not escaping. I'm all yours till New Year's. Axel rolled his eyes and turned to sleep, facing the other way. Mason hugged him tightly from the back to sleep. Axel tried to pull him away, but Mason's grip was too strong, so he just gave up, and they both slept cuddling. The following morning, Axel awoke to find a man sleeping close to him. Instinctively, he kicked the person off the bed, only to realize it was Mason. Mason groaned, ouch, not again, and Axel hurriedly apologized, explaining that he wasn't accustomed to having people in his home, especially sharing a bed. Mason assured him it was okay, and they both got ready to head to Axel's house. Reviewing their practiced responses from the day before, they prepared to depart. Axel opted for the most luxurious car among his new collection, a vehicle he knew his cousins had been eyeing but couldn't afford. Axel parked the car at the house, hoping for a moment of pride and perhaps a compliment from his family. Instead, he was greeted with remarks like, did you rent a car to show off? From one of his aunties. Another cousin chimed in, I'm sure renting that car cost you a 3-year salary. You should return it. It's not worth it. Axel was about to clarify that the car was his own, not rented, but was interrupted by Sheila, the wife of his cousin, who exclaimed, who is that handsome man beside you? Axel tried to speak again, but she cut him off, asking Mason, is this one here your friend? Mason smiled at her and replied, no, he's not just my friend. We are actually dating. Moving close to Axel and holding his hand. Sheila continued, oh, I understand now. Does this car belong to you? Be careful. I'm sure Axel is just dating you for your money. Mason glanced at Axel, who looked sad and annoyed. He turned to Sheila with a fake smile and replied, actually, Axel owns the car, and the love between Axel and me is genuine. So, can we pause with the questions and go in? Everyone sighed and started entering the house. Axel glanced at his parents, who stood there without saying anything. Axel felt like leaving, but Mason stopped him, reassuring him that he would be by his side, and everything would be okay. When everyone went inside, throughout the day, everyone continued their sarcastic and mean remarks towards Axel. He realized that no matter what he did, his family just wouldn't like him. Angry and upset, Axel got up and stormed into his room, the one he used since birth until he moved out. Mason followed him, and the moment he entered, Axel, shaking with anger and tears forming in his eyes, said, can I make my second wish now? I want you to make everyone there disappear. Mason gently pulled Axel in for a hug and said, I can't do that. You know that, right? Maybe you should just stand up for yourself. Show them you know your worth, and you are not just anyone they can talk down on. Axel replied, "You are right. I don't even know why I always kept quiet, allowing those people to talk about me like that." Just then, they heard a knock on the door. Axel opened it, and his cousin Eric stood there, saying, "Hurry up with whatever you're doing here and leave. My wife is tired and needs to rest." Axel retorted, "Why should I leave? This is my room." Eric responded, "Well, not anymore. My wife and I always sleep in this room whenever we come here for Christmas holidays." Axel defiantly stated, "This time, you won't be sleeping here. Find somewhere else to rest." Then firmly shut the door in Eric's face. Axel turned to Mason with a triumphant smile, saying, "It feels amazing to stand up for myself." Mason grinned, saying, "I told you so." The next day, Axel returned from a walk to find Eric yelling at Mason, who was attempting to explain amidst the commotion. Axel inquired about the situation, and Eric claimed he caught Mason making advances toward his wife. Axel glanced at Mason, who shook his head, denying the accusation. Turning back to Eric, Axel asserted, "I trust my boyfriend, and if he says he didn't do it, then he didn't." Eric, angered, retorted, "So you're suggesting that my wife is a liar and that she tried to make a move on your boyfriend?" Axel chuckled sarcastically, stating, "Well, that wouldn't be surprising. If you looked just a bit better, maybe she wouldn't seek attention from my good-looking boyfriend. She is probably tired of seeing your ugly face every day and wants a handsome man for a change. I'm sure she's sticking around just for the money you claim to have." Eric's mom intervened, scolding Axel, "How dare you talk to my son like that?" Axel retorted, "Maybe if you spent time teaching your child manners and respect, instead spending all your time putting on hideous makeup and training your voice, which sounds like a choking frog, by the way, then I wouldn't talk to him in this manner." Axel's grandfather also stepped in, stating, "That is no way to talk to your elders." Axel looked at him sarcastically, exclaiming, "Oh, so you can speak up now. Why didn't you ever say anything when these people were always talking trash about me? Instead of living your last days gracefully, making peace reign wherever you are, and making up for all your sins during your youthful age, you back them up. Just to remind you, you are just a sneeze away from the grave." Axel's parents immediately pulled him away as everyone stared at him in shock, questioning his sudden disrespectful behavior. They asked why he was acting this way. Axel retorted, "Wow, so I stand up for myself once, and it's considered disrespectful. What about all those years when these people treated me like I was nothing? You never stood up for me. Did you see how Eric's mother defended him, even when he was being unreasonable? That's what I always expected from you, but it never happened. I don't care anymore." Saying this, Axel left, pulling Mason into his room. Axel expressed to Mason that he wanted to spend this Christmas with him alone, not with his family. When Mason asked if they were leaving, Axel clarified that they would still stay at the house, but go out every day to do whatever they wanted to do, then come back at night. Axel, driven by a bit of pettiness, didn't want to give up his room to Eric and looked forward to witnessing the discomfort on everyone's faces when they saw him. In the following days, Axel and Mason embraced the Christmas spirit. Axel's used his newfound wealth to shop for things he had always wanted, but could never afford. They enjoyed activities like ice skating, playing in the snow, joining in Christmas carol singing, going on sleigh rides, taking pictures, and exchanging gifts. This Christmas became the happiest one Axel had ever experienced. Axel, observing homeless kids alone and looking sad and cold, generously gave them money and told Mason he wanted to make his second wish. Axel wished that all these homeless kids would find warm homes with loving and caring new parents. Mason responded with a smile and a confident "done," and Axel returned the smile. Back at home, Axel's parents attempted to talk to him, but he wasn't prepared for a conversation. The others maintained silence whenever he was around. During the nights, Axel willingly embraced, cuddling with Mason on the bed. Axel confessed to Mason that he had fallen in love with him. Mason, taken aback, questioned Axel's straightforwardness. Axel explained that at 30, he was past the age of beating around the bush. Mason reciprocated, admitting he had fallen for Axel too, but was hesitant due to his impending departure on New Year's. Axel reassured Mason that it didn't matter. What mattered was spending their remaining days together happily without worrying about tomorrow. Axel and Mason continued to enjoy the rest of the Christmas together. They were both helping to put together a street Christmas tree that had fallen when Axel suddenly held mistletoe above Mason's head. Mason asked what he was trying to do, and Axel replied, "We have to kiss now, or we'll have bad luck." Mason stared at Axel, and Axel, thinking Mason didn't want to kiss, began to move the mistletoe. However, Mason stopped his hand, keeping the mistletoe above his head, then planted a soft kiss on Axel's lips. After the kiss, Axel confessed, "I'm embarrassed to say this, but this is my first kiss." Mason replied, "I know." Axel rolled his eyes and said, "Can't you just pretend you don't know?" Then started walking away, first smiling without Mason noticing. Before New Year, Axel finally decided to talk to his parents. They apologized for allowing the other family members to be mean to him and not standing up for him. They promised Axel that this would be the last Christmas they would celebrate with the entire family. And from the following Christmases, it would just be the three of them, plus Mason, celebrating like a happy family. Axel accepted their apology and hugged them. It was time to do the countdown for New Year, and as everyone was busy counting, Axel was just staring at Mason. The moment the clock struck 12 o'clock and everyone was shouting Happy New Year, Axel kissed Mason's cheek. And Mason, who wasn't even surprised, retaliated by kissing Axel's lips. Axel told Mason that he was ready to make his last wish. Mason asked what his last wish was, and Axel replied that his last wish was for Mason to stay and not leave. Mason's face dropped, sad, and he replied that it was not possible. Even though he misses the people where he is from, he also wants to stay, but that is out of his power. He can't do anything about it. Axel suddenly remembered the old man he met the first time and immediately pulled Mason to where he met the old man in hopes of getting him to make Mason stay. When they got there, the old man was nowhere to be seen. Axel asked people around if they had seen the old man, but everyone said they had never seen such a person he is describing. Accepting the reality now, Axel and Mason said their last goodbyes, hugging until Mason disappeared. Axel returned home feeling a mixture of sadness and relief, knowing Mason would be content back in his own world. Throughout the week, Axel aimlessly roamed his opulent mansion, realizing that the wealth he had once desired failed to bring him happiness. His thoughts were consumed by the absence of Mason, and although he yearned to see him again, he had to confront the painful reality. He was sleeping at night when he dreamed of the old man, who inquired whether he wanted Mason back. Axel affirmed his desire, and the old man warned him that Mason coming back would come at the cost of losing all the wealth he had acquired. Axel responded decisively, stating that he didn't care about the wealth. All he wanted was Mason. The old man smiled and vanished. Axel opened his eyes to find an unfamiliar man lying beside him, staring. Reacting quickly, Axel kicked the man off the bed. And with a pained look, the man remarked, "I guess I'll have to get used to this." Axel then realized it was Mason. Overwhelmed with joy, Axel pulled Mason into a tight hug, expressing how much he had missed him. After they separated, Axel observed that his house had reverted to its previous state, no longer a mansion. Unfazed, Axel inquired about Mason's return. Mason explained that he pleaded with his master, the old man, to bring him back. And to do so, he had to give up his powers. Mason embraced Axel, explaining that losing his powers, although slightly painful after having them his entire life, didn't bother him much. All that mattered to him was being with Axel again. They shared a silent, heartfelt hug for a minute. In the subsequent months, Axel secured a well-paying job. And with Axel's assistance in adjusting to his realm, Mason successfully started his own business. They both were happily living together, and Axel's perspective on Christmas shifted entirely. What was once his least favorite holiday became the most cherished, as it marked the time he met Mason, who brought light to his dark world and filled his life with joy.